All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's Domestic Violence Survivor Resource webinar. My name is Kendra Dunstan. I'm the Development and External Affairs Coordinator here at Brooklyn A, and I'll be your MC tonight. Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A believes that all New Yorkers should have equal access to legal services to seek justice, make their voices heard, and overcome systemic racism and oppression. We were established in 1968 as the War on Poverty, and Brooklyn A believes that attorneys have a critical role to play in combating poverty, inequity, and racism. Our civil legal services, organizing efforts, and educational resources assist our clients and their communities in defending and mobilizing against harassment, displacement, and gentrification, and asserting their rights. Tonight's program is brought to you from our Consumer Economic Advocacy Program that houses our domestic violence unit. And in this unit, they offer assistance with orders of protection, child custody, and support, and more. We will also have a segment from our Consumer Economic Advocacy Program where we're going to talk about tax resources for domestic violence survivors. Our Consumer Economic Advocacy Program, or CEA, is where they prevent foreclosures and defend against predatory lending. They resolve tax issues with the IRS for low-income taxpayers and strive to ensure that vulnerable groups have strong safeguards in place to help them build and maintain assets throughout their financial lives. As you see on the screen, there are two other practice areas, which is our Preserving Affordable Housing program, where we assist individuals with tenant-related issues, anti-harassment, eviction prevention, and then we also have our Community Economic Development Program, where we help small business owners with commercial lease assistance for new and existing businesses. We provide advice and laws and options. We can help negotiate rent and arrears, and we also help with nonprofit and corporation and startup services, and so much more. I would like to thank our sponsor, Assemblywoman Stefani Zinnerman, who represents Brooklyn's 56th district, which includes Bedford-Stuyvesant and Crown Heights. Assemblymember Stefani Zinnerman is a dedicated public servant and longtime advocate for equity and justice. She brings a deep understanding of the issues impacting vulnerable communities. Her work in government and the nonprofit sector has focused on creating access to essential services, including housing stability, education, healthcare, and workforce development. Assemblymember Zinnerman is a passionate supporter of survivors' rights and is committed to ensuring that all New Yorkers, especially those impacted by domestic violence, have access to safe housing, supportive resources, and pathways to long-term stability. We are deeply grateful for a partnership and unwavering commitment to this important work. And Assemblyman Zinnerman, I will now turn it over to you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this invitation to partner with you all, and certainly Kendra and the team at Brooklyn A. Thank you for this kind introduction. You know that I believe that you are an incredible team. Anytime that we need for you to come out and provide information to constituents, you are there for us and there for the community. And it is your tireless work that helps us protect and empower our neighbors through your legal advocacy and community partnerships. So I am, again, most grateful for what you do. I stand here as a proud sponsor today, and I continue to stand with you for the fight for housing justice. If you know anything about Bedford-Stuyvesant and Crown Heights, you know that this has been more than a decade-long fight to ensure that we have affordable houses for people to live in, and also to protect those who are in their spaces. We have been certainly locked hand in hand with raising awareness for domestic violence and working diligently here in Albany to ensure that survivors have the protections that they need. And that we could also do preventative work together to promote communities and ensure community safety. Brooklyn A, you've been a longtime advocate for and been on the front line for justice for us, defending tenants from unlawful evictions, helping our homeowners reclaim what's rightfully theirs, and ensuring that survivors of domestic violence can find both safety and stability. So you are more than just our legal advocates. You are our lifeline to community. And again, I just want to say thank you. Although I am, my committees focus on aging and agriculture, labor, people with disabilities, tourism, arts, parks, and sports development. Um, my major reason for wanting to run for office was to advance and help protect my community. And so anything that you all are experiencing, we want to make sure that you understand that we are a resource for you. That you have multiple ways to get in touch with our office, and not just to you know, complain about something, but also to come up with ideas. How can we work together to ensure that our community and our residents are safe? And so please accept this as an invitation to come to call us at Restoration, contact us through legal services, and just know that there's somebody that's listening, there's somebody who cares about your uh, your life, your family's life, and that together with all the vast resources that we have in New York State, we are laser focused on ensuring that those resources are available to you. I just want to mention a couple of different pieces of legislation. I don't know if people in the audience actually get my newsletter. We try at least twice a month to send a newsletter out via email. It's something that you could call our office or sign up yourself to get. But I always have a section that talks about the new laws that have been, or bills that have now become law. And we do that because oftentimes people aren't aware how to get that information, or that a new law has taken effect and how it's going to impact your life. And we want to make sure that you know what is happening, and so that you are not mistakenly violating a law, or we want you to know about laws because the legislation that we put forth is meant to do no harm. It's meant to actually help. And so if by chance there is a piece of legislation that was introduced and or becomes law that is impacting you negatively, we want to make sure that you know that you can call and advocate for amendments or changes in laws. But what we want to do is speak to each other upfront to make sure that we're passing those laws that can assist you, like the Housing Access Voucher Program, HAVP, some of you may know, which provides survivors of domestic violence and others at risk for homelessness with rental assistance to ensure that you can get stable housing somewhere. Assembly Bill A5573, which expands protections for tenants experiencing domestic violence by allowing easy release from your leases and assets to help you relocate to safety so that you will not be at risk. One of the things that I know that I am working on right now is ensuring that those domestic violence spaces have capital investments to improve security in residential buildings, whether it's for making sure that you have qualified security guards or upgrading the locks, making sure there's intercoms and lighting, cameras, whatever it is that you need to make sure that you are safe. That is something that we are championing in this year's budget. And there's a facility in particular in my district that needs that sort of help. But there's also enhancements. You know, some people like to garden and would like to have a space for families to garden together and grow their own food. I mean, these are just ideas that you could bring to your elected official and for discussion, for whether it be for legislative purpose or for a capital investment to make your lives more comfortable and just enhance your overall quality of life. I think you know that we have over the years, raised awareness. We have Team Domestic Violence. We have DV days here where we're wearing purple and we're raising awareness. And like you, this work is personal for me. This is there is too many instances in our community where people have found themselves in this situation, both women and men. And we want to make sure that you never have to choose between staying silent or seeking help. We want you to know that this is a powerful community. We are here as a resource, and we want to make sure that you know that if you choose to stand up and speak out, that we are here with you to make sure that you are protected as well as the members of your family. So I just want to thank you all for your courage, for your commitment to safety, because you're also a model for other people to look at and know that they too can seek help and seek safety one day. So I thank you all. Your courage inspires us. It inspires us to write policy and to make sure that we drive funding into programs that is going to uh, strengthen you and your family. So together, we'll continue to build with Brooklyn Corp A, where they make sure that safety is sacred and justice is accessible and healing is possible. We are here for you. And I thank all of the hard work that went into today's resource fair, and hope that you find it meaningful and you get what you need. And if there are other things that you think of after you listen to the other speakers, again, be sure that you can reach out, through your counselors or directly for any assistance that you might need. I'm sorry that I cannot stay because I actually came out of conference. We have not passed our budget as yet. We're still in negotiations with the governor's office. So I snuck up to my office just to reach out and just to tell you how important this event is and our ability to connect with you. I'm also a little sleepy, so sorry about my tone. It's been a very, very, very long day.
It's been a long couple of weeks. I know for you.
It has been a very
I don't
long
know how
couple
you
of
do
weeks.
it. And that's why I'm so thankful that you were able to make it on when I emailed you and you answered right away and really just shouted how important this topic was and how you needed to be a part of it. It just shows who you are, the caliber of your character, and how much you're not just working for your constituents in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Crown Heights. It's New York City and all people that you are
You say
advocating.
from Brooklyn to Buffalo.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
amazing what you do. I am so appreciative of you. We at Brooklyn A are so appreciative of you and look forward to continue collaborating with you and working on whatever you see your constituents need. We are here for you.
All right, my dears.
So have a good night.
Have
Keep
a
up the
good
good
and great
fight.
night. Well, hopefully I'll have good news for you all next week about our progress. All
Thank
righty.
you.
Take good
All
care.
right, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All righty, good, thank you. So now we're gonna move on here to our presenters this evening. We have Daniela Adeo, who is our senior staff attorney in the domestic violence unit. She previously, before Brooklyn A, she worked at the Kings County District Attorney's Office in the Domestic Violence Bureau. Daniela received her JD from Fordham Law School and has been practicing since 2017. Lauren Yeoman is Brooklyn's only domestic violence paralegal and has been with Brooklyn since 2022, starting in our housing program. She graduated from the University of California, San Diego, and is the National Health Corps Philadelphia alumni. And then we have Cynthia Rosa, who is our community economic development paralegal. Before Brooklyn A, she worked extensively with recently arrived migrants in Brooklyn. She provided support, advocacy, and social services to help them navigate the immigration system and build new lives in the United States. Cynthia holds a JD from Benjamin L. Crump College of Law and an LLM from Northwestern Pritzker School of Law. Cynthia is admitted to practice in Illinois and is waiting for bar admission in New York. Crossing our fingers here. And now we are going to talk about, go over some really important topics in our agenda that can help you protect yourself and your family both at home and when it comes to taxes, if you're a domestic violence survivor. Now, keep in mind, domestic violence occurs when someone tries to control another person through abuse. It can be physical, emotional, or financial. It can happen to anyone, no matter your income, background, and wherever you live. Anyone can be a victim, and everyone can be a survivor. Today's agenda, we are going to first talk about your rights to safe and fair housing and the laws in New York State and New York City that are designed to protect survivors of domestic violence. We'll go over some local resources that can help you if you're facing housing issues. Then we'll shift to some common tax issues survivors may face. We'll explain who qualifies as a dependent and what happens when more than one person claims the same child on their taxes. We'll also talk about how to protect your identity and your tax refund from fraud or theft, something that unfortunately happens more often than you think. And finally, we'll touch on how to deal with tax mistakes made by a spouse or partner and how to be ready just in case the IRS audits your return. And we'll share some resources that can offer you some support. So we're just about to get started. Before you do, I'm going to remind you that we will have a Q&A at the end of the program. You will be able to type your questions in the little chat box there, or you can use the hand raise feature on your computer, and I will then unmute you, and you can ask the experts your questions directly. So I do want to start by saying thank you to all the presenters for being here. I definitely appreciate you, and I will be turning it over to Danielle. You're on mute.
I'm muted. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Daniela Deo, and I will go over review some laws that protect survivors with the focus on housing rights. Unfortunately, survivors often face significant barriers in securing and maintaining safe housing. So it is a very important area that it is good to cover. It is important to cover. My hope is that this information will be useful to you, whether you are going through DV yourself, know somebody who is, or you're supporting a DV survivor in a professional capacity. Thank you again for being here, and let's dive in. So, safe housing rights. New York State and New York City has laws that protects domestic violence survivors when it comes to their housing. The New York City Human Rights Law and the New York State Human Rights Law protect survivors from discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations based on protected status. Protected status include people who have been victims of domestic violence, stalking, sex offenses, and characteristics such as race, color, citizenship status, among several other protected classes. The law protects anyone seeking housing in New York City or New York State, regardless of immigration status. The human rights law applies to landlords, property managers, real estate brokers, and others making housing decisions. However, it does not cover two-family homes that are owner occupied and where the unit was not advertised, or rooms in a house where the owner or the owner's family also resides. Next slide, please. So what is prohibited under the human rights law? A covered housing provider cannot reject you based on the fact that you have, for example, an order of protection against your abuser. A housing provider cannot evict you just because there was a domestic violence incident or police were called. Brokers cannot refuse to negotiate or falsely claim housing, or falsely claim that housing is unavailable when it is because of your protected status. Housing providers cannot turn you away because of poor credit or rental history that is due to domestic violence. Housing providers cannot refuse repairs to domestic violence survivors and also cannot deny vouchers like Section 8, or city FEPs and others that we're going to discuss later. Next slide, please. In addition to the state and local laws that protect survivors, that protect survivors to ensure they have a safe home, we also have federal laws. The Violence Against Women Act provides protections to survivors of domestic violence as well. VAWA provides housing protections for people applying for or living in units that are subsidized by the federal government. And it is to help keep them safe and reduce their likelihood of experiencing homelessness. Covered housing programs include housing and urban development programs such as public housing, tenant-based vouchers, project-based vouchers such as Section 8 programs, among other federally subsidized programs. And protections include, just like the state and local laws, survivors cannot be denied housing or evicted due to abuse committed against them. It also give domestic violence survivors the right to remain in housing despite DV-related criminal activity, the right to request emergency transfers for safety reasons, lease bifurcation to remove abusers while allowing survivors to stay at the home, and confidentiality of private information. All of that is protected under VAWA. Next slide, please. To claim VAWA protection, there are a few steps. First, covered housing providers must provide you with a notice of the VAWA rights when you are admitted as a tenant, when you receive an eviction or termination notice, and prior to termination of a tenancy, or when you're denied as an applicant. And this notice is called the name is HUD 5380. And essentially, it is very detailed and provides a lot of information on commonly asked questions. So it provides information on emergency transfers. It provides a list of covered housing subsidized by the government, by the federal government, and other common questions. The process essentially is the housing provider will, when you claim a VAWA protection, the housing provider gives you a written request that asks you to submit the documentation about the incident or incidents of domestic violence. And you're given at least 14 business days to respond. When providing documentation, a survivor can choose any one of the following documents: a self-certification form called HUD Form 5382, or a statement from a service provider, attorney, mental health provider, or medical professional under penalty of perjury, or police, court, or administrative records, for example, orders of protection. And housing providers cannot demand additional documentation unless conflicting information exists and needs to be verified. Next slide, please. Thank you. So emergency transfers. In order to be eligible for emergency transfers, you must be a survivor or a household member is a victim of violence or abuse. And you must expressly request a transfer, and there must be a reasonable belief of imminent harm if you remain in the home. And survivors can request transfers even if they're not lease compliant. So even if you owe rent, you can still ask for a transfer. And housing providers must maintain strict confidentiality and keep private the tenant's information and have an emergency transfer plan available upon request. Next slide. So breaking a lease. Under the New York real property law, survivors can legally terminate a lease early if you're a victim of domestic violence and you have a reasonable fear of continued violence. To end the lease, you must provide your landlord with a written notice that states that you or a member of your household has experienced domestic violence and you reasonably fear staying in the home because of possible domestic violence in the future. You must give 30 days notice, and the notice should include the date that you would like to terminate your lease. You would like your lease to terminate. Within 25 days of giving this notice to your landlord, you must provide proof that you are a member. You must provide proof that you or a member of your household is a victim of domestic violence, and proof can be an order of protection, police report, medical record showing injuries, and statements from a qualified third party, such as a law enforcement, attorney, physician, therapist, social worker, or even a member of the clergy of a church. Once your lease is terminated, you do not owe rent after the termination date. You're only responsible to pay rent for the 30-day notice period. And any roommates living in the premises, the landlord cannot end their right to remain. And if, okay, that's it. That's good. You can go to the next one. Now, another very important piece of information for domestic violence survivors is keeping your address confidential. As you know, there are public records out there that shows our address, marriage record, such as marriage records, voter registration, and that can be extremely very dangerous. So under New York State Executive Law, Section 108, state and local government entities, including courts and agencies, must protect a person's address if they request so. This means that government entities must use a participant's substituted address when creating, modifying, or maintaining government records in any form, and cannot keep records that contain the participant's actual address. Those who are eligible are victims of domestic violence, as well as stalking, sexual offenses, and other crimes. Reproductive healthcare workers, employees, volunteers, patients, etc. Household members of eligible participants, and you must be a New York resident. So how it works. Essentially, once you apply, you will receive a substituted address to use for government and official records. And all state and local agencies must accept this substituted address and cannot disclose your actual address. Any mail sent to the substituted address is forwarded daily to the participant's confidential location, although packages are not forwarded. And you can apply online, or you can always seek help through a local DV, domestic violence victim services program, where you can meet with an application assistant. Once you submit your application, it is reviewed by the Address Confidentiality Program Office. And then once it is accepted, they will assign you the substituted address, a certification code, and an ID card that you can also use. Next slide, please. So if you face housing discrimination, you can, in New York City, you may file a complaint with the Law Enforcement Bureau of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. You can call 311, you can call them directly, you can even go online. If you live outside of New York City, you can file a complaint with the New York State Division of Human Rights. And if you live in a federally subsidized housing, you can file a complaint with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Next slide. Oh, that's it. That is my presentation. Thank you. Oh, and now I'm going to pass it to Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren, I'm paralegal. So yeah, the next slide is going to be about helping paying rent and rental programs. So Section 8 is a is to receive subsidized housing on the private market. So that looks like receiving housing vouchers or finding places that work for you, and then having submitting an application through the NYCHA portal and seeing if you qualify to receive a housing voucher for the property that you seek. Unfortunately, right now, the applications are closed for Section 8, but when it opens up again, hopefully, we will be sure to like let our constituents know. And also for all of the options, self-advocacy really is a very big part of getting things rolling. As we know, bureaucracy can take a really long time and can be really frustrating to deal with. And it might seem like they're not necessarily helpful, but a way that we can combat that is by self-advocating, making sure that you have your documents in order once the application's open or once you're connected to any representative, social worker, legal advocate, making sure that you have IDs, bank statements, and are really proactive about collecting the documents needed to apply to these programs, because that'll really help along the way and push forward any sort of application process that you're looking for. And so then moving on to city FEPs are for those who were homeless or are currently at risk. To basically, you have to contact a home-based provider that can be through any legal advocate or through Homebase itself, and they'll be able to help you out with your application. And this is also for low-income families, elderly, or those with disability. And for both City FEPs and Section 8, they do have domestic violence survivors prioritization within the application. So if you do state within your application that you are a domestic violence survivor seeking shelter, then they will be able to push and prioritize your application above the rest. And these programs help create stability and safety for survivors. It creates opportunities to leave your situation and be able to have safe and secure housing. And then some other resources, Safe Horizon, there is the 24/7 hotline. They are a really cool shelter. They offer 8 domestic violence shelters throughout New York City. They are very confidential, so they have a hidden or secret location. They're very discreet. No one will know you reside there unless you tell them. And they do provide a safe space and offer supportive services designed specifically for survivors and their children. This can look like childcare, economic empowerment, job placement, and housing assistance. And they also provide case management, legal help and support groups, and as well as like community activity. And the Street Work Harlem, they also have a Street Work Lower East Side. They're actually a subsection of Safe Horizon, and that is specifically for youth at risk of homelessness. And so that is for young people under the age of 25. There are both drop-in centers and overnight. So the drop-in centers can look like daily necessities like meals, showers, clothes, wellness activities, medical care, legal assistance, mental health services, sexual health, including HIV prevention, materials and testing, and then any sort of kind of government logistics like obtaining identification, public benefits, and housing advocacy. And then as well as there's also the New York City Hope Hotline that can help seek shelter. But yeah, the one that is 24/7 is Safe Horizon. So that is an important number if per se there is anything that happens at non-ideal times. Not that any time is ideal, but they are able to help and you're able to be connected to a representative at as soon as possible, any time of the day. And then here's some more support lines. Text and chat support for if you're unable to speak on the phone or like wherever you are, and then the deaf hotline, as well as the National Domestic Violence Hotline, in case there is interstate logistics at play, that they might be more helpful than any New York City specific programs. And then if any of those resources aren't fitting your needs, or you want kind of a search engine where it can pile them all in one, there's the OVS, or Office of Victim Services resource connector. You just type in your zip code and your concerns, and they'll be able to churn out any sort of resource that is tailored to your needs.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Oh, there we go.
Worries. And yeah, just to wrap up the resource portion, you are not alone. Others have walked this path and found safety. It is in no way fair or easy that this is something that has to be dealt with or done, but help is available, and resources and support are ready when you need them. Like we discussed a little bit before, some things can feel a little bureaucratic, a little hard and long, but there are so many resources in this city that you can either help you straight on, or that can connect you with someone who can fit your needs. And just want to emphasize that if there are circumstances or barriers towards finding a safe and secure housing, then there are avenues to pursue that, and you deserve safety. So there are legal protections also that exist to ensure your housing rights as well. And then this is our contact information. So there's Daniela's contact information and mine, general inquiries for any of the other programs that you saw at the beginning of the presentation if you're interested. And then also we have 4 locations in Bed-Stuy, Williamsburg, Bushwick, and Queens. And I'll pass it on to Sin.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. Okay.
Yep, you're
All
good.
right. So this is a few tips, and I'll be quick so that we have time for questions at the end if anyone has any questions about any of this. So these are tax time tips for domestic violence survivors, claiming dependents, protecting your identity, and knowing your rights. And so who can you claim as a dependent? Is the person a qualifying child or a qualifying relative? Just to let you know, sometimes you can claim someone who is not related to you, but it depends on if you provided more than half of the support. Other factors, verify eligibility. Can the person be claimed as a dependent? So that also depends on your parental rights. And then seek help if needed. Ask a tax preparer or check IRS guidelines. Next. So what happens when more than one person can claim a child? So usually the parent has priority over a grandparent, aunt. It's usually the parent. And if 2 parents can claim, it's usually the parent who had the child for a lot longer time. So if you have like a custody agreement, it would be the parent that had majority of the custody. However, if there are instances where 2 parents both have the same amount of custody and split the time equally, then it will go to the parent with a higher income. However, you can have a divorce agreement, some sort of custodial agreement that does this in advance. So if divorce or marriage is something you're looking into, perhaps this is something that you could negotiate in the divorce as part of the divorce, because it really makes a difference to be able to get these child tax credits. Next. So protecting your identity and refund. So there's a couple of ways that you could protect your identity. And of course, identity fraud is rampant. You might have calls, you might have people sending you emails, and you might be receiving things from the mail. Remember that IRS will not initiate contact or try to sell you anything, or New York State is not going to try to sell you anything. They're not going to call you. They will send like official letters. If you owe or you're being audited, you'll receive something in the mail. But an IP PIN number is something that you can apply for with the IRS, and you apply online, or you can see us and we can help you apply. If your identity has been stolen in the past, the IRS will send you a unique number, and you would need to wait for that number in order to file your return electronically. So every year, once you opt into the program, there's an automatically renewal. So the IRS will send you a different PIN every year. And if you want to file your return electronically, you have to wait for that PIN number to arrive. If it doesn't arrive, you can still submit your return through mail, but you won't be able to e-file it. So it'll take a bit longer. So what happens if identity theft occurs? There's a couple ways to protect yourself, but one is to file the identity fraud form through the IRS, and the New York State also has an equivalent form. These things take time, but oftentimes what we see is if you had your tax return prepared, let's say by an accountant, you gave them permission to prepare 2022, but they went ahead and prepared 2022, 2023, and 2024, then that would be fraudulent, right? Because you only gave them permission for 1 year, right? Or they changed the direct deposit information and they put their personal information, right? You never want someone to put their personal information. You want your bank account in there. Or if, you know, you can get a paper check, but usually direct deposit is the best way to get your refund. Next slide. So if your spouse lied on your taxes, you may be protected. So innocent spouse relief, if you file jointly but you don't know about mistakes like underreported income, you might not be responsible for that income. And so there's abuse consideration. So IRS considers abuse in fear, so you don't have to suffer twice. So there's a couple ways to file relief. So there's a form through the IRS, and there's also a form through New York State. So if you need help with that, again, that's something that we can assist you with. Next slide. So you always want to be ready for an audit. So how do you prepare for an audit? So you want to keep your important tax records, maintain proof of living arrangements, child support, and family relationships. Make copies, so create copies of all important tax documents. Like, for example, if you're mailing a return, make a copy for yourself and then mail it to IRS if you need to mail the return. Review thoroughly, so go over your return with your tax preparer. So you want to make sure before you sign anything, that is a legal document. So you're certifying that your name is spelled correctly, your social security number or ITIN number is correct, your child's name is correct, where you worked at was correct, the amount is correct. So you want to just give that a quick view before you sign off on it. So act quickly. Bring any IRS or New York State notices to a professional right away. So if there's something you don't understand, just please, you can email us the letter or text us like a picture of the letter, a screenshot, and we could set up an appointment and go over what the letter is saying if you don't understand. So, but you want to act quickly because sometimes there's deadlines. And usually it's within 30 days, sometimes within 15 days. So you have to respond to these letters sometimes very quickly. So for example, if New York State might want additional documents to confirm you are the custodial parent. So they'll ask you for a letter of verification, right? A school letter from the child's school. And so they'll want that within 30 days. And so if you don't respond to it, you sort of lose out on your child tax credit or earned income tax credit. So we see that happen all the time, and it's a little bit of work to for us to get that credit back, but oftentimes we are able to work with New York State and IRS so you can get that credit even if you didn't respond within the allotted time. So next slide. So this is some extra tips for you to protect yourself. So you want to file early. So you want to beat fraudsters by submitting your return as soon as possible. So if two people are filing, mom and a dad, whoever files first, it's probably going to go through no problem. But the second person is going to have issue. That's when you need to contact the tax authorities, open a case with them, and now you need to prove that you are the custodial parent. So there's going to be a delay in your refund. And so filing early is the best way to file. Update your address. You want to make sure if you're getting notices from the IRS or New York State that they have your correct address. So you can fill out that form 8822. You can also go to irs.gov, create an account. It's free. You can find your tax records on there. They have, I think, at least up to 10 years worth of your tax records. So your tax returns, a transcript of your tax returns, not your exact tax returns. So use your own account, direct deposits only to your personal bank account. And I believe we discussed that already. So monitor your credit. You can obtain a free annual credit report on annualcreditreport.com. So you want to be checking that every year, just in case people are not opening an account under your name. And so resources, so you're not alone. So there are several services available to help you with your legal and tax concerns. And this is where Daniela, Lauren come in, Brooklyn A's Domestic Violence Program, and we have provided you the information there. Brooklyn A's Low Income Tax Clinic, that's where I work every day, and we assist eligible taxpayers. VITA Clinic, so that's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, so they offer free tax filing. There's a lot of them to list, and Grow Brooklyn is one of them. We work with them a lot. And so that's just one example. They have like 6, 7 locations, but there are a ton of places that are still doing tax filing even after the deadline. So the deadline is pretty soon, but if you need those resources, if you need help with that, just please let me know. And so the key takeaways are: know your dependents, understand who qualifies and how the tiebreaker rules work, understand your rights. Innocent spouse relief may be able to protect you from your partner's mistakes, protect your identity, get an IP PIN, and monitor your credit regularly, and then stay prepared. Keep records organized in case of an audit.
Righty. Thank you so much, Sin. Thank you everyone for presenting tonight. This is our portion for questions and answers. You can type your questions in the chat box directly, or you can use the hand raise feature and I'll mute you. You can ask your question directly to the experts. We do have a question in the chat from Kamina, and on the topic of claiming dependents, we kind of went through a little quickly, but what is the suggestion if you find out someone already claimed your dependent? What do you suggest the person do?
Okay, so I would say a couple of things. So one, give us a call. Give us a call immediately. If you received any letters, usually if you tried to file, add your dependent, it didn't go through, you would mail that return. And this is usually what happens, but if it's something different, go ahead and let me know in the chat, or you could email me after, and I'll put my email address on there. Usually what happens is you can either mail the return, and so the IRS or New York State will process it. You can, we can open a case with you and sort of help you navigate this, but you would need to get some sort of proof that you are the custodial parent. And so if you have like an order of protection, if you have child support, if you have a court document, that would be enough. But oftentimes people don't have court documents because they don't want people to know their address. So when that's the case, you would contact your child's school, and they can send a letter. And basically the letter says that my child went from school from this year to this year. This was the client's listed address. This is the client's, this is the child's custodial parent is such and such. So you need to have either a legal document or something from the school that says you are the custodial parent. You need to provide a birth certificate and your ID, social security card for the child, social security card for the parent. So it's going to be a little homework for you to get that stuff, but it's doable. Even if a year or two passed, we can still get it sometimes. You know, it depends, but you are going to need to have certain documents. Court documents are always the best, but we know that sometimes people don't have court documents. So we go for the second best. Also, letters from the doctor, right? So they just want to know that you are the custodial parent, and also a lease. So if your child is listed on the lease, that helps, but sometimes not every child is listed on the lease. So it kind of really depends. So in a case where the child is listed on the lease and there's like a court document that shows child support, that would be like the perfect situation. But obviously we know that's not going to be the case for everybody. So it really depends.
Yes, definitely. Give us a call. If you know someone or are going through that experience, give us a call at the number on the screen, 718-487-2300, or email us at info@bka.org. And we will make sure you get your question answered. And if applicable, we will conduct the intake so we can help the person directly. We have another question from Tracy. Are there any parts of Brooklyn that help with mortgages and foreclosure issues of low-income homeowners who are domestic violence survivors? I think I can take this one. We have a consumer economic advocacy unit, which is the unit that Sin works out of. So not only does she assist with tax-related matters, she also assists with foreclosure-related matters. We want to keep homeowners in their homes. So if you are facing mortgage issues or foreclosure, and if you have a sale of your home coming up in the next couple of weeks or days, you need to call us at the same number or email us at info@bka.org. So our team can assist you with that there. But the answer is yes. We have a unit dedicated to preserving home ownership and saving equity in our communities. We have saved millions of dollars in equity since the establishment of the unit, and we want to continue to do so. So do not lose your home. Okay?
And if you're served with notice or you think you're about to be served with notice, let us know, because the clock starts ticking. Once you're served with notice, the clock starts ticking, or even if you think you're going to be served with notice, we need to know as soon as possible, because we have to put you on the calendar. And so and we have to assess the situation to see if we have attorneys available to take your case, to determine what type of representation you need. But it's very important to act quickly, so we can do an intake. Intake maybe takes 30 minutes to an hour. We need to find out if bankruptcy is an option. So there's multiple things, but act quickly, because, you know, mortgage foreclosure right now is, you know, it's really busy.
Yeah. Also, we do have additional resources that after this webinar, since you've attended, we will be sending you a link to this recording, and then also a list of resources for you. If you are a survivor of domestic violence, there are quite a few centers that can help you out, something like the Family Justice Center, who has more information on job trainings and programs, planning for your safety, and other questions that are outside of the legal realm, and more of your safety. There are other organizations that can help with that as well. Maybe sending you a list of those resources. Do we have any additional questions tonight before we wrap it up here? Oh, I see one. Will we be able to access? Yes, whoever the anonymous attendee is, yes, I will be sending you the link. It will be to our YouTube channel. And it might be Friday and maybe Monday, but you will have that link within the week so that you can review this, and I'll be emailing you at the email you registered with the additional resources. Alrighty, before we go, just want to let you know, we have a drop-in tax table every other Thursday that you can sign up for. So if you have specific questions about your tax situations, or you received a notice in the mail, sign up for the tax table. It's a 15-minute appointment where you can sit down with one of our experts and they will go over your unique tax situation. And then again, here's our domestic violence flyer. So if you know anyone or you are a survivor yourself, please refer them to us so that we can assist in any way we can. Are we able to access these services if DV was out of state? You know what? I don't know the quite answer to that. So Daniela, as far as our services that we offer, if the domestic violence situation occurred out of state, and Melissa, please correct me if I'm asking it incorrectly, and the incident happened out of state, they live in New York City now, are they able to access our services? Oh, you're muted, sorry.
Well, it depends on what services you need, right? Obviously, if something happened, I mean, if there's something, a part of your services that is connected to New York, we'll be able to help. But if it is something we have to do out of state, then we can't, because I mean, we are, based in New York. It really depends on what type of service do you need. Their custody issues or orders of protection, all of that, we really only work New York State based.
So like the issue has to be in New York State, but
Yes, but we can
domestic-
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, the issue is a New York State issue, but if you are coming from out of state, and if you're from out of state, I mean, it really depends on the issue, but we can
Yeah.
also connect you with resources out of state if necessary.
Awesome, thank you. And Melissa, and sometimes it's hard to answer specific questions on the live webinars. So I would recommend email us at info@bk.org, because we could ask further questions to really get the answer to what you're looking for. And Tracy, as far as being a survivor, is there a time limit for when the domestic violence incident happened? So statute of limitations on domestic violence incidences.
That's a great question. Well, it really depends on the law of the state, right? That's a great question, and I can definitely answer that at a later time, because I can't think about it right now. But yeah, it depends on the type of crime and offense, etc., that is committed, and it would be based on that.
Thank you. And Tracy, we, also in the beginning of the webinar, we just talked about, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but when you're going through these incidents, if you can, keep your records, report incidences so that there is a history, there's something there. And that's not always an easy thing to do. So I understand that as well. But if possible, report your incidents and keep records of things that happen.
I just want to add that for foreclosure, Queens and Brooklyn only for now is what we assist with foreclosure prevention. For tax issues, basically everybody, all of New York City, New York State, even New Jersey, Connecticut, as long as it's an IRS issue. We might not be able to take you as a client necessarily. It might not work because you're far, but we can perhaps guide you along of where to go next.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, and I just
mhm.
want to say, after a quick search, so I said it based on crimes, right? The statute of limitation. So depending on what offense was committed, for example, misdemeanors have a 2-year statute of limitations in New York. Felonies have a 5-year statute of limitations. And for some crimes, there's no statute. Some other crimes like certain sexual assault crimes, there's no statute of limitation. So, and for civil claims, um, I believe it depends, but maybe a year. I believe, well, I'm not sure if this is right for civil claims, so I'm not going to give that information. But for the criminal part, if you're seeking an order of protection, etc.
Thank you so much for that update, Daniela. And again, we recommend info@bka.org for your specific questions, because then we can take the time and really go over your unique situation. And not just you, if you know anyone else who is facing a domestic who is a domestic violence survivor and facing domestic violence or need our resources, please let them know. And there's oftentimes people are not even aware that they are a survivor, and there are resources available to them. We are here to help. If we are not able to help, we will get you resources and referrals to where you need to go. So if there are no other questions, I know we are 5 minutes over. I do thank you all for staying on for the extra time. And please, again, we hope that, we continue to bring information that you need. If there's any topics that are of interest of you, that you would like to see us present, please email us at the info@bka.org, and we'll see if we can get any program done. Team, I want to say thank you all so much for being here tonight and presenting this important information. Your tireless work and commitment to all New Yorkers is so noteworthy. Thank you again for being the best part of Brooklyn A, and I hope you all have a great evening.